Ahead of the 2020 Championship, Mercedes introduced the dual-axis steering. This system allowed Hamilton to manipulate the toe angle of the tyres by pulling the steering inwards or outwards. When driving on the straights, you want the tyres to be perfectly straight to reduce drag, but once you hit the corners, you would gain more grip if you can manipulate your tyres to bend outwards. The engineers at Mercedes were able to create this abnormal behaviour on the tyres without breaking any rules. Their title contender was unhappy about it. Wolff has given them another hurdle to scale. Red Bull complained bitterly to the FIA. The governing body knew the system was a stroke of genius, but because Mercedes had dominated for 5 straight years, they had to slow them down. But the problem was the DAS trickery was highly integrated into the car. If they were asked to remove it mid-season, it would compromise the entire car. So, Mercedes was allowed to use the system for the whole of 2020, but a ban was placed on it from the next year. This move was solely to help Red Bull catch up. The result of that ban was that Red Bull was able to win the title in 2021, 2022, and 2023. Even though weakening Mercedes by banning their tyre manipulation wasn't solely responsible for Red Bull's emergence, it sure helped. Red Bull dominated, but soon enough they began to get distracted by things happening off the track, and important people began to leave. While we were all fixated on the departure of Newey, a key man used to be their chief engineering officer. The man, Rob Marshall, made the switch to McLaren as their technical director, and he is the key man in this story. Following his onboarding in January of this year, McLaren has gone from stride to stride. Thanks to Rob, McLaren has been the only team that has nailed every single update this season. And one of those updates is the infamous flexi wing. TV cameras caught the McLaren red-handed at Monza. The concept of the flexi wing is pretty straightforward. In the straights, the front wing shrinks. This helps to reduce drag and improve speed. But when a car approaches a corner, grip is more important than speed. Hence, the front wing bulges to give the car a better grip. The FIA has a load test to counter this, but teams have found a way to pass the test while still breaking the rules. The front wing is subject to a deflection test. In 2010, they increased this load to 100 kilograms. This static load is placed on the wing, and as long as the deflection does not exceed 20 mm, the wing is deemed okay. But under racing conditions, the force on a wing is not a simplistic vertical load. At speed, the forces acting on a wing are a lot more dynamic as the wing cuts through the air. As the RB20 tumbles down the pecking order, Horner has been looking for ways to at least protect the Drivers' Championship. Surely he must know that the Constructors' Championship belongs to McLaren. The FIA might appear as though they are an impartial body, but that could be far from what their actions suggest. It is in their interest that one team doesn't become too dominating, and when Red Bull embarrassed the competition by winning 21 out of 22 races last season, they knew they had to do something about it. The FIA received a complaint by Red Bull, but simply shredded it and gave them a vanilla answer. Their response was that they would do something about the flex wing. It's just that they won't do anything about it for the rest of this season. They claimed that from their testing, all teams passed the deflection tests. But we believe it wasn't because they couldn't do something about it. It was because they knew Red Bull was in deep trouble, and they wanted to keep it that way. Verstappen was furious after Monza. He described the car as a monster, but what he actually meant to say was the car is currently a piece of shit. Red Bull will have to take this decision in good strides because not long ago, the same FIA had to bend the rules for them. And this brings us back to the dual-axis steering we talked about in the beginning. Mercedes was once banned from using their genius design in order to benefit Red Bull. Red Bull couldn't possibly complain right now that the FIA is not doing their bidding. As the race heats up, 62 points separate Verstappen and Lando Norris. The only reason this gap isn't smaller is because Lando has been bottling up races where he is clearly supposed to win. The Brit has been on pole in 6 occasions, but he can't even keep that lead for the first lap in all occasions. This has made some people question whether Norris is the real threat to the Dutchman or his teammate. The Australian has shown he has more grit than his much-experienced teammate, and it is only a matter of time before he would become the lead McLaren. But since Lando is ahead of his teammate by 44 points, mathematically he should be the one to lead the charge. We would like to hear all your comments. This is Front Lockout, signing off